I'm Jeremy Allen, and we're here at the Mackinac Policy Conference, and I'm joined by DaJuan Kennedy, better known as Zoe.
Yep, Zoe.
Zoe, you are the new CEO of Force Detroit
Yes.
Community Violence Intervention Program, and you became the CEO earlier this year. Talk about what your transition has been like from stepping into this new role. I mean, you've been with Force for a little while, but now you're stepping into this leadership role. What's that been like for you?
It's been great. So I started out as a volunteer under the leadership of our founder and then executive director, Leah Harvey Quinn. Stepping into the role, I'm appreciative of what she built, developed for me to drive and steer. As I step into the role, I see things like being in position, having to make decisions, having to make executive decisions. I see the things that she set in place to protect our organization and to help everybody in the organization thrive. She created a lot of pathways and she created a lot of protective measures for the work, specifically our organization. And I appreciate her so much for how she developed Force and how she developed me, because like I'm a part of that. I was a volunteer and she built up the organization and built me up as well.
Tell people a little bit about what community violence intervention is and why it's so important.
Community violence intervention is a public health approach towards gun violence that deals with those who are at high risk of potentially being a victim of violence or being a person who perpetuates. I use perpetuate intentionally and not perpetrate. Often, too many times, people who perpetuate violence have been victimized. You just don't pick up no weapon and start causing harm.
Yeah,
You've
it's
been harmed.
too.
Yeah, if you start looking at the data and the research shows that a person has experienced violent encounters time and time again in the past to reach that point, or they receive some type of violent programming to condition them to be capable of committing that type of harm.
Yeah. The work.
It also, I'd be remiss if I don't include this. It also has therapeutic services in it, wraparound services. It should have workforce development, pathways to career. It should address the public, it's address the social determinants of health. Each CVI program, initiative, whatever, it should address the social determinants of health. It should have programming that actually addresses that.
Now, a lot of people think that, CVI programs are in direct competition with police for funding, but it's really something that goes hand in hand.
You're complement
right
to it, because you got to think. I often say this: police monitor, address, and respond to crime. We monitor, address, and respond to disrespect. Disrespect is not a crime, but disrespect could lead to a crime.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, where is that at? And the effective thing about it when it comes to, because you have people on both sides, you have a community that sometimes say, like, because it's history and it's harm there by law enforcement. Law enforcement has a history that it can never get away from, right? So it has to be intentional about its future, right? When it comes to community.
Absolutely.
Healthy division of labor is what we have developed in Detroit. We don't interfere with any investigations. You don't interfere with our relationships in community. Let us build our relationships. Whatever y'all doing on y'all end, y'all is doing that. Us developing our relationships, we want individuals to respect authority. We want authority to respect the individuals that they're supposed to serve as well. As long as you're doing constitutional policing, I don't have a problem with you. I once lived a lifestyle that wasn't conducive to my community. So I understand that, but we didn't have nothing. That's what they gave us. That's what they put in our communities. And we didn't have the necessary positive reinforcement not to go down that path.
Yeah.
Imagine what community violence intervention would have did during the crack era.
Or even the eras after that.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, like, so you look at what's going on, and then you look at sustainability. Like, this has been proven to work. Over the years, 2023 to 2024, based on Nick Jr.'s or National Institute Criminal Justice Reform's cost per shooting report, we saved the city, the taxpayers, over $129 million. And that's based off of each shooting cost $1.1 million and each homicide $1.7 million. And I'm gonna explain that to people, like, how could that cost? Well, you have to factor in everything that's going on. You got to factor in how much it costs to pay EMS workers, how much it costs to pay detectives, how much it costs to create for crime scene cleanup, how much it costs to convict this person, how much it costs to incarcerate this person.
Yeah.
How much revenue the tax taxes lose tax revenue is lost by this person not having a job. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you got to look at look what it does to lineage. Imagine I've been in prison with men who haven't had children, who have life in prison. Lineage gone.
Yeah.
Wiped out from a mistake or a decision. Yeah, so when you start looking at the ripple effect of trauma, it turns into like a practical, logical person who isn't indoctrinated to believe things will understand if you just use logic. Why wouldn't law enforcement want community to encourage community not to harm each other?
Along those lines, though, we have, cutbacks to the funding at the federal level to this. It was recently announced by Donald Trump that he signed an executive order to reduce CVI spending by about $145 million nationwide. How will that have an impact on the work that's being done in the city of Detroit?
Well, outside of the trauma, it has impacted our organization. Our grant was terminated, a $2 million grant was terminated. We're currently in litigations with that administration. We're a class action lawsuit, not just for Force Detroit, but for the whole field, right? We could have put in an appeal just for us, but no, we represent a whole field. Like I built as the executive director of Force Detroit and as a leader in this work, not just a local leader, not just statewide, a national leader. Come what may. Come what may. You can't take from us. And if you do that, we're gonna tell you you're wrong. And he don't wanna fight with you.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna be abused. We will stand up.
That has to be kind of the calling card for a lot of people across a lot of industries right now where they feel like they're being bullied by the federal government. They're not getting access to funds so that they can actually directly impact folks. I mean, it does take a real leader to kind of put that mark on their back and say, I'm willing to fight for this because it's so important to me.
Yes, and I say that like, and even, cause we do community violence intervention, so we understand harm, right? We understand harm, we understand aggression, we understand passivity, right? We understand when it's an aggressor, and we understand when someone's being passive. Like, we're not gonna be passive, but we're not the aggressors. Right? We're not the aggressors. So we always about peace because that's our work. But you cannot abuse or cause harm. We're about harm reduction too now. We're about peace, but we're about harm reduction. And that cause harm. We have to understand that cause harm. That harms our communities. Our communities were awarded that. They were awarded that. So you can't just cause harm and not expect someone to respond to your harm, whether they yell or they defend, whether they call for help or they defend. People didn't want to put the targets on their back, but they yelled.
Yeah.
And we choose to defend.
Tell me what's in the works for Force Detroit over the rest of the year 2025.
2025. So we have Advocacy Day. We're going up there on the 11th, Ramsey, Michigan, and we'll be up there on the 12th advocating for sustainability when it comes to community-based violence intervention. There are multiple bills out as it relates to community violence intervention. We need to go up there and really have a discussion with our legislators. And I'm going to say this directly to our legislators. It needs to be some type of negotiation or whatever is going on up there. This needs to happen. I'm not a person that comes and seeks to cause harm. I'm about peace, but I am about harm reduction. The politicking that is going on, and I'm not blaming any of them, right? Because I would like to have conversations with everyone.
Right.
It is causing harm. So it does need to be some form of discussion, negotiation, to figure out whatever need to be figured out so that our field is sustained. And you need to have individuals who do the work and individuals who advocate for the work at the table so that this goes through, that it's effective, that this work is sustained.
And you mean by that you mean continued funding for CZ?
Sustainable funding, permanent.
Yeah.
That's what I'm on.
And I want to just ask you one last question, because thinking about community violence intervention as a path for a career wasn't a thing 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but through the effective work and the proven success and results of community violence intervention programs like Force Detroit,
Yes.
it's now becoming a more reasonable career path for a lot of youth.
And it's rehabilitated. Let me tell you, let me explain something to you. Grab a man. I'm gonna use myself for an example of what community-based violence intervention did for me. For me, and I know I've done it for others, that I can speak clearly. I have a penitentiary GED. I could feel like hardly I could read, but I had to read stuff over and over and over again to comprehend it, right? I had to do that. I spent all my time and most of my time, the last few years in prison, learning my history, studying psychology, sociology, creating programs in prison, doing stuff. I didn't know it was going to be community-based violence intervention. I knew it was going to be non-power. I knew I was going out to give back to my community. But what was the thing? All of that stuff that I learned, all of that stuff that I've been through, all of that stuff that I poured into myself and educate myself. I remember a brother told me, like, man, you reading all them books, what that stuff gonna do to you? You ain't gonna be able to get no job with that. Said that to me. That psychology stuff, your history, that stuff ain't gonna, me understanding, and I was just trying to understand myself. I'll wind up here, what's wrong with me? I don't like feeling like this, all that. To actually get out of prison, I started as a volunteer, brother. Actually get out of prison, then started learning about organizing a nonprofit industrial complex, how it works. And that is part of our legacy. We've been through plight.
Man.
So the career, I learned transferable skills with Force Detroit. Right now, I started as a volunteer. I can literally say this. I'm able to manage a multi-million-dollar budget. I'm able to do political advocacy. I'm able to create behavioral curriculums, right? I understand multiple methods of therapy, right? And I've gained a whole family across the nation. I've been to the White House, brother, because of this stuff. And that's not the point of, that's not the pinnacle of, the pinnacle is the sister built something up, and she built me up, and she trusted me to, one, push for a whole field and advocate for a whole field, and to think right now, even what we going through right now, that we are in a position, we are stepping up as real leaders, not just Force Detroit, but multiple organizations. Just because you don't see people in the front, don't mean they ain't front line.
Don't mean that the work not being done.
Ain't no question.
It's a new day, definitely. And Zoe, we appreciate you taking the time, chat with us about what's going on and all the exciting things happening, not just for Force Detroit, but with community violence intervention as it relates to a new way of reducing crime and reducing harm in our neighborhoods and creating more peace in our neighborhoods, which everybody could use a little more peace right now.
No question. Ain't no question.
Appreciate you, Zoe.
Yes, sir.
All right.